In 1991, Lexus launched its first sports coupe, the Lexus SC 300 and 400. And they kept that car going for 10 years before they replaced it with the Lexus SC 430, launched in 2001, which they also kept going for another 10 years before they killed it off in 2010. And in 2014, we now have the Lexus RC 350, which is the first luxury sports coupe that Lexus had in a while. So what do we think of it? Well, let's take a look at it first.
So what exactly is the RC 350? I think it would be most logical to think of this as an IS 350, but in coupe form. But let's take a closer look at the details.
Lexus has incorporated a lot of Lexus design elements into the car. And what I mean by that is they've incorporated a lot of L shapes into the car itself. So you see that even with something as simple as the LED daytime running strip, which is in the shape of L, as well as the headlamp cluster, to some of the vents which are at a certain angle, cast certain shadows onto it, which is also in the shape of L, to even the tail lights. It's just a cool way of integrating some cool design features into the vehicle, and it just helps it stand out a bit more.
Let's also not forget the F Sport package on this car adds this RCF inspired grille too, with the grille transitioning from a squiggle shape to an F near the bottom. Very cool.
While the outside of the Lexus RC 350 is certainly going to divide some opinion, the inside's a pretty nice place to be. A lot of the surfaces are padded leather, and on this particular F Sport package you do get the perforated leather heated steering wheel. And also the instrument gauge is modeled after the LFA, so it's got this mechanical moving instrument binnacle, which is pretty cool.
The infotainment system is controlled via Lexus's remote touch interface, a vibrating touchpad meant to give feedback. It's an improvement over the old mouse-like joystick, although I still prefer using a touchscreen.
The engine in the RC 350 is shared with the GS sedan, so it's the familiar 3.5 liter V6, making 307 horsepower and 276 pound-feet of torque. Both horsepower and torque figures come out fairly high in the rev range, so you do have to work the engine to get the best out of it.
Okay, so what's it like to drive?
RC 350. What is it like to drive? Now, most of the time when I drove this car, I left it in the automatic mode. It was a very comfortable cruiser. Suspension is amazingly compliant. When you feel like turning things up a notch, you have the dynamic mode selector down here, and you have either an eco mode you can switch into, which numbs up the throttle, makes everything a little bit easier to drive, or switch it to Sport and Sport Plus in the F Sport model. Then you have sharper steering response, sharper throttle, and the car is just a little bit more put together. In the rear-wheel drive version, it comes with the ISF's 8-speed automatic, which is a torque converter automatic. It allows for 0.2 second shifts, which is pretty impressive. Now, when you get the all-wheel drive model though, you get the 6-speed automatic, which is also a torque converter automatic, but unfortunately shift times are a little bit slow. Going up a hill, there's about a 1 second delay before it actually shifts into the gear I want. Kind of holds the car back a little bit. You want to brake late to help control that mass and to help take care of the understeer, but even as you push out, you can feel the nose is just starting to run a little wide, and it's got quite a lot of grip, but when you push the car and the first thing it does is understeer a little bit, that to me is not necessarily a sports car. When I'm driving a sports car, I want the ability to adjust the angle of the car. I want to be able to control the understeer by later braking, and I'm not sure whether it's the all-wheel drive system, whether it's just the mass that's there, but it kind of stops the car from giving it more of that rear-wheel drive character, which I would have liked to see. But to be honest, I think most of the people that buy this car will be looking for a comfortable cruiser, will be looking for a comfortable GT car, and they'll be looking for a car that stands out and is a little bit different. And that's exactly what the RC 350 is. Now, generally when you're driving around town, the 3.5 liter V6, it sort of makes a kind of gargly sound, which is okay. But where the magic of this engine really is above 4,000 RPM. Let me demonstrate. 6,000, 7,000, shift. And yeah, it actually makes a pretty nice noise. You know, the engine does have 307 horsepower and 276 pound-feet of torque, but it doesn't really necessarily feel like that because it doesn't have as much low-down torque, and also the car's pretty heavy at 3,800 pounds. So, oh, that does sound good though. So it kind of takes away from the experience a little bit. Cynics will say that this 3.5 liter engine is basically the same engine as a Toyota Camry or Toyota RAV4, and that's true, they are definitely related. But this is the D4S version of the engine, which basically means that it's got direct and port injection. For me, the Lexus RC 350 it's a good car. The transmission kind of holds it back. I'm okay with the engine and the way it is and where the power band is, but I think that for a cruiser, you should probably have lower down torque, maybe a little bit more mid-range, and you need a quicker transmission. But if you're going to be a sports car, you definitely need a quicker transmission, and having a higher revving engine is okay, but it needs to sound a little bit better. So therein kind of lies the crux in between, right? The car does do quite a lot, quite well, and I think for most people, especially the target audience that are going to be buying this car, it's going to tick basically every box that you want, you know. If you want the stability and comfort of all-wheel drive, well, you can have that. If you want a little bit more sportiness and you want something that's a little bit more classical sports car, well, then you have that with the rear-wheel drive version.
I think as a driving enthusiast, sometimes we are a bit quick to dismiss a car when the driving dynamics aren't perfect. And to be honest, on first impression, the RC350 isn't that impressive. The 6-speed transmission that we had on the all-wheel drive version is too slow amidst competitors like the BMW 4 Series and Audi A5 that have dual clutchers. The car felt all of its 3,800 pounds on the corners, and the engine's high-end power didn't seem to match the GT cues that I was getting from the rest of the car. But I think you miss what this car is about when judged based on a 15-minute drive. The looks are utterly brilliant. The interior with the comfortable seats and F Sport package add a sense of theater to the car, and the engine note beyond 4,000 RPM sounds fantastic. It is more interesting and exciting than its rivals, and will be more reliable too since it's a Lexus. It is a car that gets under your skin, and I found I missed it when I did finally hand the keys back. This is an exciting, desirable, and comfortable GT car with some sporting character. Certainly makes the future of Lexus look bright, doesn't it? Can't wait to drive the next one.
Sup, dog? Nope, nope. Justin. 7 a.m. till 9:30. Ah, yes. Yo, dude. Very planted. Not a lot of drama.